The night before the year 2001 began. Tokyo was glowing with celebration. Crowded streets, bright neon lights, families gathering together, waiting for the countdown to a new millennium. But in one quiet neighborhood in Setagaya, something far more terrifying was unfolding behind the walls of an ordinary family home. Sometime after 11 p.m. on December 30th, 2000, a killer climbed through a second-floor bathroom window, and by sunrise, an entire family would be dead. This would become known as the Setagaya Family Murders, Japan's most haunting, unsolved crime. The Miyazawa family lived in a peaceful three-story house beside Soshigaya Park in Tokyo. To neighbors, they looked completely ordinary. 44-year-old Mikio Miyazawa worked in advertising and computer systems. His wife Yasuko was known as a caring mother devoted to her children. Their daughter Niena was 8 years old. Their son Rei was only 6. Nothing about them suggested they would become victims in one of the most infamous murder cases in Japanese history. On the evening of December 30th, Yasuko visited her mother next door with the children. Everything seemed normal. Later that night, the family returned home. At 10:38 p.m., Mikio logged into the family computer and checked his email. It would become the final confirmed action anyone in the house ever made. Sometime after midnight, the killer entered through the upstairs bathroom window. Police believe he climbed using the outdoor air conditioning unit before slipping silently inside. The first victim was likely little Ray. Investigators believe the boy either woke up or encountered the intruder in the hallway. The killer strangled him with his bare hands. The noise alerted Mikio downstairs. What happened next was brutal. Mikio rushed upstairs and confronted the intruder in a violent struggle that spread across multiple floors of the house. The killer repeatedly stabbed him using a sashimi knife he had brought with him. During the fight, the blade snapped inside Mikio's skull. Most killers would have panicked. Most killers would have run. But this one didn't. Instead, the murderer calmly walked downstairs into the kitchen, opened a drawer, and grabbed another knife belonging to the family. Then he continued killing. Yasuko and Niena never escaped. Within minutes, the entire Miyazawa family was dead. But the murders themselves are only part of what makes this case so horrifying. Because after killing 4 people, the murderer stayed inside the house for hours, not minutes. Hours. Investigators believe he remained there until sometime between 6 and 10 o'clock the next morning. And what he did during that time still shocks people today. He opened the refrigerator and drank barley tea. He ate melon. He sat down and consumed several cups of ice cream. He used the family computer and connected to the internet shortly after 1 a.m. He treated injuries on his hands using the Miyazawa's first aid kit. He used the bathroom, and then he simply walked away without flushing the toilet. Police later discovered traces of his blood throughout the house. They found fingerprints, shoe prints, DNA, clothing, gloves, a scarf, a hip bag, the broken murder weapon. It was almost as if the killer had intentionally left pieces of himself behind. The crime scene became one of the most evidence-rich murder investigations in Japanese history. And yet somehow, no one was ever arrested. Investigators reconstructed an eerie profile of the killer. He was believed to be a young male between 15 and 22 years old. around 170 centimeters tall, thin build, right-handed. His blood type was type A. DNA analysis suggested mixed ancestry. His maternal lineage appeared linked to southern Europe or the Mediterranean, while his paternal DNA pointed toward East Asian origins, possibly Korean, Chinese, or Japanese. Then came one of the strangest clues of all. Inside the hip bag left at the scene, investigators discovered grains of sand, not ordinary sand. The particles were traced to the area surrounding Edwards Air Force Base in California's Mojave Desert, along with traces connected to a Japanese skate park. Suddenly, investigators began asking impossible questions. Was the killer connected to the American military? Was he a skater? Had he traveled internationally just days before the murders? Or had the bag belonged to someone else entirely? The killer's shoes were also unusual. Rare Slazenger sneakers manufactured in South Korea and sold in very limited numbers. Police tracked down stores, sales records, buyers. Every lead collapsed. As years passed, the Setagaya murders transformed from a tragic crime into something much darker, a national obsession. Because this case should have been solved, the killer made mistakes. He bled everywhere. He touched objects, he ate food, he stayed for hours, and yet, he vanished completely. Some investigators believe the murderer was an immature young man who lost control during a burglary gone wrong. Others believe the killer knew the family personally and felt comfortable inside the house. Some theorize he fled Japan immediately after the murders, disappearing before modern DNA databases became widespread. There are even theories involving U.S. military connections because of the desert sand evidence. But after more than 2 decades, nobody knows the truth. And perhaps the most disturbing part of all is the killer's behavior after the murders. Criminal psychologists have spent years trying to explain it. Why would someone remain inside a murder scene for hours, surrounded by the bodies of an entire family? Why eat their food? Why browse the internet? Why rest on the sofa? Some experts believe the killer experienced a strange psychological detachment from reality. Others believe he felt completely untouchable, completely calm, completely certain he would never be caught. And somehow, he was right. Today, the Miyazawa house still stands in Tokyo. Every December, investigators return to the neighborhood handing out flyers and asking for information one more time. But the answers never come. Somewhere in the world, the Setagaya killer is likely still alive, possibly in his 40s now, perhaps living an ordinary life, perhaps married, perhaps walking through crowds unnoticed every single day. But hidden inside his memory is one terrible night in the winter of 2000, when he climbed through a bathroom window, murdered an entire family, sat among the bodies eating ice cream in silence, and disappeared into history before the sun came up.